In a ceremony combining establishment, solemn ritual with new medically necessary protocols, 967 U.S. Air Force Academy cadets will graduate April 18th. Secretary of the U.S. Air Force Academy prepares for historic graduation. U.S. Air Force, April 17th, 2020. In the middle of the coronavirus and all the shutdowns, the U.S. Air Force Academy has held its graduation. This came as a shock, with all other universities closing down. This was particularly shocking because the U.S. Air Force Academy was one of the only ones that was able to do it to this amount. The U.S. Air Force Academy had special guidelines and provided the graduates with a safe environment so that they were exposed to the risk of coronavirus with as minimal of a possibility. As a result, we can see that colleges will be able to potentially return. The example of the U.S. Air Force Academy demonstrates that it is possible with the proper guidelines in place and with the students' discipline to follow those guidelines. Overall, colleges will be able to reopen. Cornell is right for reopening its campus, and whether or not high school graduates will return is a personal decision for them to make, depending on whether or not their university is reopening. Foremost, we can conclude that the example of the Air Force Academy's graduation proves that a safe and risk-free or minimally campus is possible. However, we must count on the statements of the following set guidelines if we are to make the return as safe for every single person as possible in every different university and college across the country, not just the service academies. Moreover, the Superintendent Vice Admiral states there are no plans to shut down the Naval Academy. Buck 2020. The Naval Academy has no future plans to shut down because they know that with the proper medical guidelines in place, they can have their students safely follow those guidelines and return to campus as normally as possible. Lastly, whether or not recently graduated high school seniors will be attending their reopened campus, assuming that their campuses are going to reopen, is a personal decision depending on how they view it, as whether or not they view it safe to them and those around them, or if they're uncomfortable, they can attend an online option that most universities, if not all, will most likely be offering. In conclusion, reopening the campuses is applicable, as seen by the examples of the Naval Academy and the Air Force Academy. This proves that Cornell is right for reopening its campus, because if these two campuses themselves can do it, and with extra time for Cornell to prepare, Cornell can do this. Also, we have proven that colleges will be able to return, as seen by the Naval Academy with its plan to not shut down at all. Finally, we can see that it is inconclusive as to whether or not recently graduated high school seniors will be returning, and it is a personal decision depending on whether or not they view it as safe to their health and the health of others around them. Ultimately, Cornell was and is right for reopening their campus because of the examples of the Air Force Academy and the Naval Academy. All campuses should be able to reopen if they adhere to the proper medical guidelines for student safety, and recently graduated high school seniors can return, but whether or not they will is their choice depending on whether or not they view it as safe.